Is 2 minutes on top of the hour, so Daily Call with David Weiner. Today, main topic. This is an important topic that comes up every physical year. And I know we're starting a couple minutes early here, but I'm not going to dive into the computer stuff for a few seconds here. But with that said, how many times, if you come across someone that's in a 401k plan, you understand our products, and you make the suggestion that their contribution should be going into an index UL plan versus the 401k, and then they come back and say, but Dave, I'm getting matching funds. You know, I'm receiving money. And you know what? I think it's time that we sit down and examine that. Look at all the benefits of the life insurance contract versus the 401k plan, because as you do your workshops, what's going to happen is you're going to find spouses working, contributing. You're going to be coming across people all the time that contribute into a 401k, IRA, 403b plan, and you got to make a decision whether or not you want to present what it is that you physically do. And if you present what you physically do, and you go up against this thing called the 401k. And it could be called a 401k plan. It could be called a SEP for a business owner. That's a simple employee pension plan. It could be called a 403b. It could be called an IRA. It could be called a lot of different things. But basically, the biggest argument I've always had about not touching that type of money is because they were getting matching funds. So the very first thing we need to do is take a client and put his money into the Index Universal Life Contract, which I just did a few minutes ago. And I ran an illustration putting in $400 a month. It's $100 a week, $400 a month. And in our comparison, we're going to compare it to a 401k, where the guy is putting in $400 a month, plus the company is contributing $400 a month on top of that. In other words, they're getting a matching fund. Now, how many people here believe that the $400 a month matching fund is going to beat the $400 a month standalone product? Does anybody think the Index Universal Life, with all its bells and whistles, has a shot at beating that deal? I'm just asking. So the very first thing we're going to do, we're going to climb into my illustration deal that I put together a few minutes ago. So I'm going to go up into my illustration stuff. I already ran it. I'm going to create the report so we can extrapolate some numbers here. But I want you to look over here. This is a 38-year-old client putting in $400 a month. I did a max funding, which means the target premium was only $4,125. That means even though the client's putting in $400 a month, you're only being compensated if it was like a $350 a month deal. But that's not the important part. We're assuming that the client never puts another dime in. We're not designing it for future dollars. And whether I think there's enough insurance or not, I've got to go based upon what I'm competing with. So I've got to extrapolate some numbers from this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run a report, and I'm going to take my numbers out of this report real quick here. So let me just open the report up. But this is a 38-year-old, and there are three numbers I'm pulling out of here. So you'll see this as I open this up right here. I use them preferred. And the first thing you notice up here is I've got a life insurance death benefit of $363,512. I've got a projected income at age 70 of $77,200. I'm going to take that number out. And I have a couple more pages forward, a living benefit number of $297,533. Now, I've got my three numbers out of here, so I'm going to put those on my whiteboard. And I am going to take this to a calculator that I have open. And this is called a 401k fee calculator. And I'm going to go to my information. And I'm putting in $400 a month in the 401k. I'm getting 100% match, so he's got $800 a month going in. I can put any rate of return I want in here. For starters, I can match my return. In a minute, I'm going to come back and put the actual rate of return in here. Because thanks to Mr. Price, we actually do have the actual rate of return since 1999. But we'll give them the assumption for a minute that he can get the same rate of return that we do. Okay? I'm going to charge the average fees at 2.99, and he's going to have in cash $725,000. Now I want you to note something here. He put in double the money, and here we are in my illustration software at the age of 70, and I've got almost $200,000 left. Everybody see that? $523,000 versus $725,000. How am I looking so far? I'm losing, aren't I? Anybody want to draw a conclusion yet? You think I've lost this battle yet? Okay. We're 4 minutes past the top of the hour, and a lot of people are joining late. They're probably going to not want to miss this, but, you know, that's the great thing about recording it. So you got $77,000 of tax-free income. So I go back to my inputs, and I'm going to go to the retirement income calculator and ask me how much income am I getting from my life insurance contract. 77.2. He's got a starting value of $725. I use a state and federal tax bracket of 40%. His retirement age of age 70. And look here, at a nice 8% rate of return, his $725, trying to match my $77,000 of income, he's demolished in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's out of money in 7 years. Gets 7 years of income, and in the 7th year only gets $33,000 of net income. How did I do? I've got $77,000 income to the age of 120 projected. He's got $77,000 of income projected for 6 years with a partial income stream in year 7. Now, let's go back and have a little bit of fun here. We know what the actual rate of return is. So if I go into the index calculator that we did the other day, and I'm going to grab it real quick here. I thought I had opened it, but So I'm going to open this calculator down here, and we know over the 15 years from 1999 to 2013, the actual rate of return is 3.36. Now I can't do my actual rate of return for those years. I can't show 11.53. My clients would have earned it with the 13 cap, but the insurance company's only going to let me illustrate a max of 8.2 on one strategy, 8.3 on the other. So over here, I get to adjust my number to 3.36 because that's the actual return since 1999. So I go in here and I adjust my return to 3. Whoops. I've got to go back into the 401k information and change my return over here to 3.36. And now I go back into my calculator. Now my money lasted, that $725,000 was now down to $321,000 at age 70. He had 3 years of income. Double the investment, exposed the risk, and the tax between the tax man and fees, they destroyed his retirement. How many people get that? How many people understand what we just did right there with that little tool? So let's go back again and recap. What we took was a 38-year-old male competing against a $400 a month 401k with matching funds, which means he's putting $800 a month away, and the life insurance policy is doing $400 a month. Now, I did a max-funded life contract, and there are 3 things that can happen for my client. First off, he can die. And if he dies in year 1 or day 1, but let's just use year 1, my widow gets $363,000 $512. What can I do with that money, folks? Regardless of what year it happens, and what can I do with that money? Well, I know what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to protect the income stream because that's what they're saving money for. The whole point of this was income. Income if you passed on, income if you got sick, income if you lived. So in this particular case, I'm going to go buy an annuity, and I am going to use the Phoenix Life contract. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that figure. I'm going to put 363. I'm going to go back on my website, and we are going to log in to Phoenix Life. And I have to actually log in to get to the numbers. And we're going to open up a calculator. So I'm going to hit submit, and I am jumping in here. I'm going to move this thing over for a second. Bear with me. And I just want to do a quick quote. Trying to open it. There we go. I just need this right here to fix the annuity quote. We're going to pretend the widow is 50 years of age when she got this death benefit. Not 65. I'm going to move it down to 50. I'm going to say he died at 50 years of age and she was 50. I'm going to make it female. I'll keep it in California for right now. And I'm just going to flip it into 363. And I'm not going to put the whole 363. I'm going to leave her enough money to pay for the funeral. I am going to put in $350,000 to replace his income. Now it's not much, but 30 days later, I've got $1,250 a month basically coming in, about $1,260 a month, $15,425 annual distribution 30 days later, and she gets that check as long as she lives. That $350,000 is delivering to her $15,000. Now, if he dies and she's 60, didn't change the death benefit, I just kept it the same. My income check is $19,747. If she happens to be 70 years at a time, I've got almost $500,000 of cash. I mean, my death benefit is much bigger right then, so I need to go in here and just take a quick look at my death benefit. My death benefit at age 69 is actually $607,643. So go back in the quotes, and I'll put in an amount, $595,000, leaving enough for the funeral out of it. And I've got $36,000 of income at the age of 70. Not a great figure. It's an okay figure. It's guaranteed income if, God forbid, he passes on before they've started that income stream from the life contract. What else could possibly happen inside this analogy? He dies year one. She's got $363,000. If he dies year one in the 401k, even if it's after 12 months, what do they got? $9,600 minus the taxes. Which do you prefer, 363 or 9,600? If my client gets sick 30 days after the policy is issued, how much money does my client have? I've got $297,533 of death benefit money without dying. If my client over here is able to go back to work, had a threatening critical illness on the 401k, but didn't die and is not terminal and is able to go back to work, he or she's probably got zero access. And if we live, I've got $77,200 of tax-free projected income. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. Projected tax-free income. Well, guess what? For them to match that, I go back into my calculator, And for starters, I'll go back in my inputs. I want you to follow along here. For starters, I'm going to do that 100% match deal. I'm going to let them illustrate at the same rate of return that I'm illustrating at first. I'm illustrating 8.2. I'll let them play with 8.2. Their fees I'm not changing. They're averaging 299. I've seen fees higher. I've seen occasionally it's a tiny smidgen lower, but not usually. So I've got 753,000 to my 525. Now I go to the next page. I've got 77,000 of net income for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 years. 7 years, matching my rate. The reality is, for the last 15 years, because they took on risk, their actual rate of return was 3.36. Now, they don't let me do my average rate of return, which happened to have been over 11.5. I'm stuck at 8.2. But let's take a look at it. Number one, by adding those fees and bringing that rate of return down, they don't have 500,000. They're 200,000 behind me. 200,000, mind you, with double the investment. And how do they look for income stream? 1, 2, 2.5 years, and they're out of money. You see, folks, the first thing when you're in the field, when you're doing what we do, and you're learning index life, what's the first thing you're going to learn? Well, the first thing you're going to learn is how to explain indexing. That's important. Then you need to understand the IRS codes. You've got to understand the IRS codes and why our vehicle is allowed to grow, spend, and pass on tax-free. We have done two things right there. We eliminated risk. And you're probably thinking to yourself, is that a big deal? I think so. We eliminated no downs. Didn't say I eliminated cost of insurance and fees and expenses and loads. If they're getting the same rate of return, they're going to clobber me until we get to the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. This is not a story about just accumulation. You know, anybody can win the game in accumulation. Accumulation is part of it. But there's a part called spending. And there's a part called what's left over. What are you leaving to other people? You have to win in all three areas. And by the way, we win in accumulation too. Why? Because there's no risk factor. We'll talk about negatives in 1 second, I promise you. And nobody asked me to do that, but I'm going to bring them up anyway. Because you need to bring them up. You need to address the good, the bad, and the ugly. But right there, how are we looking? When you come into this thing and you understand indexing, and you understand that we eliminate risk, and then we tackle on the tax man, those two things by itself, and this is why so many people that sell index life don't get into the living benefit part of it. I'm sorry, they're misinformed, they don't get it, they don't understand it. That's enough ammunition right there to destroy every 401k plan, every IRA, 403b plan in the country, every deferred comp plan in the country. You win with just that much ammo. What makes you elite is when you recognize that the death benefit is more important. Than the above. And the death benefit costs money, but it does not cost as much as the fees in a managed account. And when you're talking to somebody, there are so many great exposés like Bloomberg TV and things like that about the hidden fees and 401ks and all the crazy books that have come out the last few years about the 401k and the hidden fees. It wasn't till last year that people were finally, that the 401ks were actually being forced to disclose a bunch of the fees. They're not disclosing all of them yet, but they're forced to disclose it. And did they reduce the fees? Not really. Huge exposés, and they're still not reducing what they're charging. All they're doing is the people playing in this arena is what you and I call the upper middle class, the lower wealthy, and I don't think really the wealthy, but you know, a couple million in assets to the middle class. The paycheck-to-paycheck poor people probably aren't playing in the arena. This equates to about 80% of the USA population that are exposed and play. The reality, there's over 50 million people that have money in 401k plans in the United States. For you to be happy, you've only got to expose yourself and replace 3 to 5 of these a week. And this puts you in an elite income. 3 to 5 of these a week, and you are at what's called elite status. That's a big deal. Since the average contributions on a 401k in this country is closing in on about $400 a month, that's before matching funds. That's why I used the 100-hour-a-week mentality. And if you wrote those, and we used that 400 a month max funded, I didn't even do a full target. Let's just say you only averaged $4,000 of commissionable target premium. And you wrote 3 of those a week. Folks, you're at that number I said we were going to be at, $50,000 a month in life premium. $50,000 a month. Does that change your life? That's 12 grand a week. By doing our workshops, by doing what we do, we have found a way to find the money. Those who have been working this already know we're finding the money. Our system works. We've proven it more than a half dozen people in the last couple of weeks, and guess what? We're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now we have to educate you so you're dangerous. In other words, finding the money and replacing it are two different things. We have to arm you with knowledge so that when you find this money, it just falls over like dominoes. And it finds its way to you. And you put yourself in a $50,000 a month mentality. Does that make your practice exciting? I'm not done yet because there's lump sum money available. So let's go into that 401k calculator and let's stack the deck against us. I'm going to make it a little bit rougher because I can't change mine. I'm stacking the deck now. I'm going back to my inputs, and I'm going to put a current value of $50,000 head start over my IUL. Oh my God, how am I going to look now? I'll go in here and I will increase my rate of return back to my IUL return of 8.2. Now they got $989,000 to my $525,000 at age 70. I might lose this battle. And I go right here to retirement income. And as you can see, my projected income in my IUL went to 120. I just lasted to age 80. 9.5 years of distribution. When I go back in here and I put in the correct rate of return, which for the last 15 years was an actual rate of return of 3.36. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit that cell thing. 3.36. Thank you, Mr. Price. And we go back in here and we open this up. Wow. 3 years of income of a $50,000 head start. What should we do with that lump sum money if we can access it? Want me to tell you what we're going to do with it? We're going to change the game. I want to take that $50,000 and I want to change the rules. I want to take that $50,000 and I want to move that over to Phoenix, just like I said we were going to. I want to get them that 30% bonus so I can draw income on $65,000. And we're going to go into the calculator. And it's not going to be a ton of money. It's going to be something. But if my client coming to the table is 55 years of age, and they're a male, and they got a paltry $50,000, what am I going to do with it? And you can see right there, I've got $2,360 at 55 years of age. If they're 50 years of age, $2,204. So let's put that $2,204 on the board. What are we going to do with that $2,204? I know what I want to do with that. We're going to go buy some term life with that. We're going to put a case in underwriting. We're going to create that income. And I'm going to go to my flex quoter. I'm going to go to a 50-year-old male. And I'm going to move my thing up as much as I can. I want to know what I want $1.5 million. And if my client's healthy, $1.5 million is a little bit more than what I just brought to the table. I could do 10 years of term if he's preferred. So I'm going to reduce it down. I'm going to reduce it to $1,200,000. Standard plus, preferred, I've got about 15 years of coverage. If I'm preferred, I'm still not there. I need to reduce it down. I'm going to bring it down to $1 million. Not the figure, the most ideal figure, but I'm going to take the million, and I'm dummy proofing it. And you can see right here, at 50-year-old, if I can get out 15 years, I'm right there. Standard to preferred, about between $1,700. I can make my $1 million go a little bit longer. I'd like to have a little bit more than that, so if I can, but I'm going to take the $1 million. We know they'll release up to 90%, but let's just say for grins they release 800,000 of it. If my client stresses out and has a heart attack or cancer, how am I looking? I'm going to go back into my calculator. I'm going to go back to the company that insured Abe Lincoln, and I'm going to say right there, 30 days, let's just say it was 30 days later. God forbid, 30 days later, at the age of 50, I just popped in $800,000, and I got $35,000 of income from life from that $50,000 crumb. If he happens to be 60 years of age when that incident happened, I've got $45,000 of guaranteed income for the rest of his life from a $50,000 position. Is everybody seeing this and understanding that this is the concept? We're going after the contribution, and we're going after the lump sum, and we have to show them that we can't be beaten at all. And the miracle is to create the money from the death benefit. Any questions? We're absolutely opening up the microphone to different people today to make sure you're absolutely getting this a little bit. Let's see. Going to go to Jerry Price because you created all these calculators. So we're opening your mic first. Jerry, how are you, sir? Jerry, I hope you're unmuted.
Dave, now that I'm talking to you, I'm on top of the world. Can you hear me?
I hear you, sir. I hear you. So tell me, what do you think of that right there?
Well, you know, it's all these things have to all melt together, if you will, or come together in their sequence, and with all the proper figuring. And one of the big revelations to me is when I realized the difference between average rate of return and real rate of return. That's a game changer just in itself. And now when you put this together in sequence.
I'm sorry. For some reason, I keep we're losing like every 3 or 4 words. I'm sorry, Jerry. But I know I want to talk to you today. So I'm going to put you on hold. You may want to relog back in on the phone. But we're definitely, from the computer standpoint, totally lost you. We're going to go to our radio personality that's on the program today. Out of Sacramento, we're going to go to Mr. Michael Andrews, Jr. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. Can you hear me okay?
In fact, I'm going to do a plug for your radio show this Friday morning at 8 a.m. in Sacramento. I think that's 105.5. You're doing a financial radio show every week now in Sacramento. And it's replayed. It's drive time morning, and you're on the air also replayed at nighttime. And I am so proud of you doing that. I think that is just amazing.
Thanks, Dave.
So I just tackled some things here in front of you. Were you able to see all the things we just did just now?
Yeah, Dave. This is amazing stuff. First of all, kudos to the calculators, man. I tell you, that's some amazing tools there that people should really take advantage of to use to help in the same way you just did it here, to really bring it home. And I think those calculators are a valuable tool to really help a lot of folks. So it's a great thing what you've done here and using those.
So, and when you're coming across in your workshops and on your radio show 401ks, you can now say definitively, and I want you to learn this because you're going to be able to say this Friday, if you are contributing into a 401k, if you're getting matching funds, we have a vehicle that can outperform the income. Outperform it, would you say by 300%?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, how would you say that on a radio show? They really, because remember, they don't see the visual. How would you explain what we just did in words to get a person to pick up the phone and call Michael Andrews? What would you say?
Well, first of all, everyone has taken a hit in those qualified plans over the last few years and beyond. And basically, you just remind them of that. You know, in fact, I posted something on Facebook just last night actually, with a hammer over some jars of money, and saying, "When was the last time your 401k took a hit?" And so it's just, you just paint the picture. Many people have seen that or experienced it, and they're tired of it. So they just don't know of another opportunity
so
or another alternative.
What I want you to say is, folks, what I want you to understand is that a person putting away $400 a month on their job matching that $400 a month, that means they're getting $800 a month of income. I mean, $800 of contribution. I'm going to come in doing just the 400 with no match. It means I'm putting in half the amount of money. Start the income for both of those contracts at the age of 70. Which one lasts your mind the age of 120 based on our assumptions, and which one lasts 3 years? And Michael, I'm gonna mute you because we got some really bad background noise there. But I'm gonna restate that question right there. This is a strong statement right here. And you can do this visual question. You can ask this in a hypothetical question. I want you to answer a question for me. If you are saving on your job $400 a month, and your company is matching $400 a month, or you saved in an alternative source, and they got the same rate of return, one would last at the age of 70 for 9 years of income, and one would last to the age of 120 of projected assumed income. Which one do you think would be the one that would have the most income? The one that had $800 a month into it, or the one that had $400 a month into it? And you know, people are going to pick 99 times out of 100. They're going to pick the one that had $800 a month into it because they don't know. They do not know. So what can you do about that? What kind of difference when you tell them that the $400 a month plan outperforms the $800 a month, would you like to know why? Where do we start? Where do we start? Anybody? I can tell you where we start. It's so simple, the process. I mean, it's a process, right? I would start, folks, with, and I like the red line, blue line. But you know what? I don't have to start there. All I have to do is I got to start with explaining indexing. And if I don't want to take them to the FEG website, which I'm hesitant to do that. I like my little website, but even that I'm hesitant to do. I want to explain indexing. And how am I going to explain indexing? I start with a calculator. And I walk through Saver A and Saver B. I began there. It's a good place. And I go, which one do you prefer, left side or right side? They're going to pick your side. Now, I'm going to throw in the mix here, and I'm going to run a quick illustration. And all I want to do is have some numbers to extrapolate so I can show the power. I'm going to show a life insurance policy, an index life contract with no matching funds. And then do the inputs into the 401k calculator with fees versus my index life thing. At that point, they are blown away. Now we need third-party material. What do we have to supply third-party material? There are 3 videos that I think should be played. I love the Ed Slott video. It's on my site. The Bloomberg video on hidden fees. We need to get that. It needs to be. It really needs to make its way onto my website. I need to get that thing there. So the Ed Slott video, the Bloomberg video, it is a life insurance contract, and it is the new type of life insurance. So guess what we need to do? The Weiner video on financial fitness. Those are the 3 things. And then we go back to the illustration software, run their program, their numbers, and then basically come to the question, same or more? What does that mean? Do you want to save the same, or do you wish to save more? Now, 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, people are living paycheck to paycheck, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to stay the same. Write the application. This is the EAP process. Or you can do it on paper and transpose it to the computer later. Write the application. If you're going after 401k contributions, you should average the $400 a month. You should design it, even though you competed with a max funded thing, you should design it with the max face amount so that they can increase it, and you're telling them they're going to increase it, and you're going to help them find new money to put in there because they got to increase their savings. And I've said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it again today. If you're 20 years of age and you want $5,000 a month of income, it takes $113 a month for 45 years. If you're 30 years of age, it takes $260 a month. If you're 40 years of age, it takes $628 a month. If you're 50 years of age, it takes $1,728 a month. And if you are 60 years of age, it takes $8,135 a month. The older you are, the less time you have, and whatever you've done in the past is a canceled check. Can't change that. But the average person has about 200 contacts on their phone. And you got to ask the question, don't you think they would want to know about this? Or do you think they want to be out of money with no time to correct the mess, no time to fix the disaster they're in? They are going to be feed to death. They are going to be taxed to death. And they're going to be exposed to risk. They don't have to be. Don't you think they want to know how to avoid those 3 pitfalls of retirement, not counting the last one, which is their health? Those obstacles are real. Don't you think they want to avoid it? Do you think there's a business opportunity in there for them? If they helped just one person a month, that would be an extra $1,440 a month of cash flow. They could save that. They could save $700, $800 a month of it. If they help 2 people a month, that's an extra $3,000 a month. Couldn't they toss away $1,500 of it? Forget about it? To me, it's a no-brainer. Help us reach out to people you know. When we do our workshops, we're educating people on being in business. We sent out a bunch of stuff this morning, including our video on putting a person into business. We are working day and night in this model, folks, to do one thing. Not to be a best friend, but to FTM. We are doing the workshops to find the money. Our model puts a lot of people into business. Some will be the insurance industry, some will be a franchise, some will be a startup. But the majority will be inside your insurance business. It's forcing you to have that kind of success. Today, the process was to begin to teach you how to move money already being spent and how we compete. I think we compete extraordinarily well. What do you think? Any questions? Robert, we need to create PowerPoint slides to illustrate that. We just don't have it created yet. Ron, we're trying to put as many classes up on my website as possible to be accessed in the back, but here's a class competing, and I do believe this class is going to end up in the back. I like this class today, so it's a really good possibility. I'm going to try again to open up the mic to Jerry Price. Jerry, how are you?
Doing well, Dave.
Okay, Jerry, so now I want you to share some of the thought patterns and stuff what you saw here today, and tell me, and basically tell me if I missed anything.
No, that was probably one of the most complete presentations from start to finish, as well as at the end, the only answer could be, I got to make the change. And having all those numbers available to you in the 3 processes with the better way to save and the 401k calculator, just a matter of us and everybody learning that the percentages that are out there are real, and the ones that the people in the marketplace use are averages which aren't real. And it's all about distribution these days.
It is. The key is to be in front of enough people on a given week. And if a person is moving the national average, which is about roughly $400 a month, and they did $50,000 a month, does that change their life?
I hope to shout, make Christmas one stellar one like you've never had before, potentially.
That's a killer Christmas. It gives a whole new meaning to Burberry and Louis Vuitton, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
That's a private joke there somewhere. All right, Jerry, thanks. I just wanted to try and put you back up, and you did. Thank you again for your hard work, because you've been amazing on that stuff. Okay, folks, it is 8:43 in the morning. It's 17 minutes on top of the hour. Just a couple other quick things I want to